Welcome to the Life Lessons channel. Today, we will discuss a bit about manipulation techniques that can lead to financial losses. Alright, let's get into it. Episode 8, The One Who Has Money, The One Who Has Power. One example of a conversation I had with a friend from the past went like this. "I'm sorry, bro, but the 30 million is gone." That's what my friend said when I entrusted the interior renovation of one of my businesses to him. Although 30 million might not be a lot for me and some people, the pain of being deceived by someone was really felt at that time, especially since he was my friend and he was someone I trusted. Now, imagine how it feels for people who were scammed for 300 million, 3 billion, 30 billion, or even more. Because not long after that incident, one of my friends was scammed for 3 billion. The money he had entrusted to a contractor for renovating a newly purchased house disappeared. What's funny is that I was scammed for 30 million, and my friend who was scammed for 3 billion went through a very similar process. So in reality, scammers or manipulators don't care about the amount. Their methods are almost the same. After experiencing several scam incidents and reflecting on them, I realized something. The one who holds the money holds the power. And what I'm going to teach you is a skill that can help you reduce the risk of financial losses in the future. Why does the one who holds the money hold the power? Because when you give money to, let's say, your partner, after they have the money, they can disappear and you can't do anything about it. So make sure you hold on to your money until you get what you want. Usually, scammers' tactics involve convincing us to give them money before we receive the goods or before they complete the work. So, let's say you've already handed over the money. After that, it's up to them whether they want to deliver the goods to you or complete the project. They can do whatever they want. In such cases, it all depends on the integrity of your partner, and you know very well what people's integrity is like these days. Even if they don't keep their promises and run off with your money, you can only surrender. Why? Let's look at it from a legal standpoint in Indonesia. First, you can't report a small-scale fraud case to the police. Second, even if it's a large sum of money and you want to take the case to court, it will cost you a significant amount of money for lawyers and other expenses. Third, scammers often have little to no money in their accounts. In the worst-case scenario, the scammer doesn't have any money at all, which is why they resort to scams. Why? Because scammers spend money quickly, even faster than they acquire it. So even if you win in court, there are no assets to seize to reimburse your money. Even if you win in court and can force them to repay through a judge's order, they can only pay in installments as much as they can until it's fully settled. This could take years or even decades. If you don't believe me, ask a lawyer or someone knowledgeable about the law about pursuing a scammer. They will likely say it's better to consider it bad luck. Remember, the one who holds the money holds the power. So as long as you have the money, whatever plans you make will go smoothly. When you don't have the money, they know they have the power, and you don't. Even if they run away, you can't do anything about it. Now let's discuss the case of my friend who was scammed for 3 billion. He offered various contractors to renovate his newly purchased house and eventually chose the cheapest one, who only requested 3 billion as an upfront payment. In theory, if they had followed the agreement, my friend would only have to pay 500 million as a down payment until the contractor completed a certain percentage of the work. Then, he would pay the remainder as the work progressed. However, somehow, the contractor managed to convince my friend to give him the entire 3 billion upfront. After that, the contractor disappeared from the city, and my friend didn't know where he went. 2 months later, the police still couldn't locate the contractor, and I'm sure 2 months were enough for the contractor to spend all the money. In the end, my friend had to sell the house that was supposed to be renovated, and he would be burdened with the debt, which turned out to be a 3 billion loan from the bank. What lesson can we learn here? The one who holds the money holds the power. Because my friend didn't realize that once he had given the money to the contractor, he lost control over everything. He should have only given the money after he was satisfied with the contractor's work, even if the contractor's reason was that he didn't have money to buy materials. My friend should have been even more suspicious. If the contractor couldn't afford the initial capital for his business, how could he repay my friend if they incurred losses? So when negotiating a large sum of money and the other party asks for an upfront payment, be cautious and careful. If it's just a down payment, that's fine. After you realize that the one who holds the money holds the power, I want to add one more fact you should know. Money is slippery, and because it's slippery, we can suddenly lose it without realizing it. For example, during my college days, because I had a small business, I had a landline phone installed in my dorm to appear more professional. During a long holiday, I went back to my hometown, and my friend called me saying he needed a place to stay because he couldn't afford rent. Since he was my friend and my dorm room was empty, I allowed him to use my room. Without realizing it, after I returned to my dorm, my phone bill had accumulated to almost 3 million rupiahs. My monthly allowance at the time was just a little over 1 million. Here I was, helpless. The bill was in my name, and my friend refused to pay it. So I had to pay it. Even if you refuse to pay or let it go, the consequences of losing your money are dire. Why? First, you can't report small-scale fraud cases to the police. Second, even if it's a large sum, pursuing it legally would cost you a significant amount in legal fees. Third, most scammers have little to no money in their accounts. So even if you win a lawsuit, there are no assets to seize for reimbursement. And even if you win the lawsuit and can force them to repay through a court order, they can only pay in installments, as much as they can, until it's fully settled. This could take years or even decades. If you don't believe it, ask a lawyer or someone knowledgeable about the law, about pursuing a scammer, and they will likely say it's better to consider it bad luck. But remember, the one who holds the money holds the power. So as long as you hold on to your money, whatever plans you make will proceed smoothly. When you don't have the money, they know they have the power, and you don't have the power, and you don't. Even if they run away, you can't do anything about it. Now let's delve into the core of the matter. First, one of the most common reasons friendships deteriorate is due to debt. It's a fact. Why? Because you wouldn't lend money to your enemy. If you do lend money, it will likely be to someone you know and have a relationship with. Second, there are various types of debtors, which I'll discuss later. One of the dangerous ones, in my opinion, is the extravagant debtor, or what I call a chronic debtor. They earn 5 million, but spend 5 million or more. So when their income drops to 3 million in the next month, their expenses remain at 5 million or even increase. How can they maintain their extravagant lifestyle when their income is reduced? Well, because they're in debt. Unfortunately, if you're one of the people who lend money to this chronic debtor, getting your money back will be difficult, if not impossible. If you do get it back, it will likely be when they have extra funds. To increase your chances, you can remind them when they receive their salary, but it's still uncertain. Third, the one who holds the money holds the power. This applies when you lend money to a friend as well. Let's say you meet a friend every day. If you lend them a large sum of money and conflicts arise between you two, it's not unlikely that one day, tensions will escalate. When this happens, and they still owe you money, you might be forced to give in or even face threats like, if this issue continues, I won't pay back your debt. Because you're afraid of losing the money you lent, you might back down. And yes, you can't do anything about it. Because you're afraid of losing your money. When a friend asks you, bro, I need 500, can you lend it to me? The first thing you should do is decide whether or not you want to lend it. If you decide to lend it, you should also consider if your life will be disrupted if they can't repay the money. Are you willing to accept that? When you refuse, how should you do it? I'll give you 2 methods to decline. The first method is something I often did during my college years. You can say to them, bro, I don't have 500. If you can find someone else to lend you 1 million, I'll borrow 500 from you. Believe me, they won't borrow money from you again. If they still try to persuade you, you can use the second method, the preventive approach. It's a bit funny. When it's payday and you know your friend has received their salary, you can borrow 200 from them, for example. Then, one day, if your friend borrows from you, you can immediately repay the 200 you borrowed. It's as if you're paying back a debt to them. By doing this, you ensure that your friendship continues and you won't fall out over money. Right? Here, there's an agreement between you that you hold their valuable item while they hold your money. Your friendship will continue because neither party can manipulate the other for their advantage. If you still insist on lending money or entrusting something to someone else in such a naive manner, go ahead. Eventually, you'll learn from your experiences. But remember, don't blindly accept everything I've taught you. Sometimes, there are friends who genuinely need our help. Whether they faced a disaster, an accident, their family is in need, or they can't afford their education. Whatever the reason, as friends, we shouldn't abandon them forever. If you can help, then help. Then help, because there may come a time when you need help too. All right, that's all for today's lesson. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.